All right. Hey, everybody. It's Sally Hendrick. We're starting the Who's Riding Shotgun show. I've got three awesome guests here today with me. We are going to talk about what it's like to work from home or traveling or whenever so that we don't have to actually go into the office. And in fact, I've got some very interesting stories from all three of my guests today about how they have worked in different places. So what I want to do is just kind of go around and say hello to each person. Tell me, just a little bit of blurb about yourself, and then we'll come back around and talk more about your business. So Hal Humphrey, since you are directly to my side up here, give us some information. What's going on with you?
I am, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'm Hal Humphreys. I am a private investigator by trade. That's what I do most of my work in. And then I also have a couple of online businesses, education businesses for private investigators, real estate appraisers, those kind of things. So I'm able to pursue PI work kind of across the country and maintain the education businesses while I'm doing that. And also anytime my wife and I decide to go out of the country, we can still keep the education business going.
Yeah, that's good. Which I want to hear more about that because we were involved in that a couple of years ago. So I want to see how that's going. Isabel, what about you? I know you and I met in a group called Project Positive Change.
Yes.
And I fell in love immediately with what you were talking about because you definitely pick it up and go wherever you want to go and make that life.
Yeah. So I'm a digital nomad. My current home, and it's currently in transition, is thebellavie.com, but right now it's isabelrizzo.com. I'm a singularity storyteller, and I help people discover their brand essence and their story so it becomes so compelling that people want to join your community, want to buy your products, want to shift consciousness in the world. So I've worked wherever I've wanted to for quite a while. I just got back from a European tour, and currently I'm back in Chicago. And I'm hoping to go back to Paris sometime soon, hopefully next year. The whole, stuff going on there. Just wanting to wait till that cools down and head back there for a bit. So I've worked from, cafes to co-working spaces to, speaking at conferences. Well, wherever there's Wi-Fi, I'm good.
Exactly. Yes. And I want to hear more about what happened this summer because we were in the same country.
I know, we were right next to each other.
And, oh well, it happened. All right, Angela, what about you? We met in New York.
Awesome. We did meet in New York at an event, and we're both fiscal-minded people, so I think we kind of clung together from that one. But I'm Angela Matthews, and I'm location-independent, digital nomad, laptop, wherever it is, Wi-Fi. But I don't necessarily identify with it all the time because I have a lot of clients, and sometimes when you're location-independent or working from a laptop, they wonder well, if you're not here with me, where are you? And it's I'm on the internet, which is everywhere. So I'm everywhere. Yep. But at the same time, it's super important to me that no matter what I do, it's mainly through my laptop so that I can move around. So I get claustrophobic on a country level. And I just got to kind of keep going to meet new people and to broaden my horizons. For me, I think education, it's great through a book, it's great through an institution, but there's something about traveling and actually meeting people and sharing that knowledge that you just really learn a lot. So for what I do is I'm a project manager working for Internet Marketer, managing her entire online team. And I also have a string of online businesses similar to a lot of people nowadays because it's such a great way to have passive income. And that ranges from teaching people how to invest who have zero experience to helping people get things that they don't want about them online, offline. So a lot of it is fixing, for a lack of a better word, similar to Hal, but he does it in real life and I do it online.
Yep. Well, and that was one of the reasons why we even talked about scheduling this show to begin with, and it kind of changed focus a little bit. But when I met you, you were talking about being like a reputation coach and helping people, fix their reputations online, or at least maybe even just increase their presence online, I would think, with positive information and so forth. And I was like, ooh, I should get Hal because he kind of ruins people's lives, right?
My job description is breaking hearts and skulls.
I was like, that's how that was the premise to get this show going. And then I was like, you know what? These people travel around and do whatever, in which we've got some really great stories coming up, because Hal just did, what's the name of the walk?
The Camino de Santiago. It's a pilgrimage across the north of Spain.
Nice.
For the second time.
Wow.
500-mile walk.
Mucho respect for that. How was it?
It was absolutely fantastic.
Was it as hard as it sounds?
In ways, it was not as difficult as you would think. In ways, it's much harder. I think if you find yourself walking for 39 days straight, 15 miles per day, you're going to find some trouble spots. Like you're going to have a hip hurt, you're going to have a knee hurt, you're going to have a foot hurt. Something's going to go wrong. And anytime you're walking that much, yeah, you're gonna have struggles. But it's also totally gratifying. It's an amazing experience.
If you get a chance, I don't know if you've got these things posted publicly, Hal, but whenever Hal and Kim, his wife, were doing this walk, they would post something every day about their day and where they were and what they were doing. And you always said, my office, or what'd you call it?
The Daily Office.
The Daily Office. He would put the Daily Office and a picture of whatever it was, and he would be sitting there with his phone or his laptop or whatever you were using to tell about the day's walk or whatever happened that day. And then Hal's wife, Kim, is a writer, a very, very good writer and an excellent writer. And so when she wrote her story about the first time that you guys did this, you were pretty tortured on that first one physically.
This is a story in which she throws me under the bus.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it was. What happened is the first time I think like anything, the Camino for me ends up being a metaphor for a lot of different things. I think it's a really good kind of life lesson on how to do things, because you have to commit to it. You have to you put yourself out there. You commit to it. You know you're going to be there for a certain number of days. You know it's going to be hard. You know all these things, and you prepare as much as you possibly can. But I went to REI the first year in 2013, and I bought this brand new pair of really nice hiking boots that fit. And by the time I got over the Pyrenees Mountains, I realized that I should have bought a pair of boots that were maybe a size and a half bigger than I normally wear, because my feet were destroyed. And I'd prepared, I'd practiced, I'd trained, I was ready for it, but still I made a huge mistake, and I paid for it for the rest of the trip, because once you hurt your feet, you never quite recover. It's just kind of an ongoing thing. But the bottom line is I often think about the Camino as kind of a metaphor for life in general and business in general. You decide you're going to do a thing, you put yourself out there, you prepare as best you can. And, sometimes things happen that you can't foresee, and you have a hiccup in cash flow, or you have, you've spent more money here and you haven't made enough money here. There are difficulties along the way, but you do the best you can, and you adapt, you make changes, and you, as the entrepreneurial set likes to say, you pivot and you find a new route. So, I think, for me, the Camino ends up being kind of, like I said, that metaphor for how to kind of live a life and how to do a business. Well, I just went on for a while there. Sorry.
So no, that's fine. How did you actually prepare as far as, how were you making money when you were gone?
So about 5 years ago, a really good friend of mine named Jim McLeod and I bought a business that was an online education business. And that business, it does well enough that Jim checks out for the month of December. He sells Christmas trees here in Nashville. He's got Santa's trees, 12th Avenue South, the tree lot there. Yesterday. So he checks out in the month of December. He also checks out for a month during the summer with his family. They go out to Mackinac Island. During December, I don't hear from him at all. He's too slammed with Christmas trees. He's got like 8 lots around town. So while he's doing that, I focus on kind of keeping the nuts and bolts of this business going. And then during the summer, when he goes to Mackinac, he's got connectivity and he can log in and check on it. But Kim and I try to take a longer trip at least once a year of, a month and a half, 2 months. And during that time frame, we may or may not have connectivity. If we do, I can log in and answer questions. She can post stories to Pursuit Magazine. We have an online magazine called Pursuit Magazine. It's pursuitmag.com is the URL. And we can kind of maintain those things while we're gone. But at the end of the day, for us, I make my money primarily from the practice of private investigations. I do criminal defense investigations and fraud examination work. And I bill by the hour for that. So when we take these long trips, I just work really hard for the 2 or 3 months ahead of time. And I save up enough money to pay for the trip, pay for the house note and the electricity while we're gone, and then give myself a 2 or 3 week ramp up when I get back. Because last year when we were in Spain, we came home and I had a decent amount of money in the bank, but we had an air conditioner go out. We had a car die on us. So, you got to plan for these things a little bit ahead of time. You can't just often go to Spain or Cambodia and not plan a little bit ahead. So that's kind of the way we do it. I ramp up some money ahead of time, bank that so that I've got, money to pay the bills and all that stuff while I'm gone and to have fun while we're gone, and then have a little bit for when we get back. But the online business, I love this idea of passive income, but I have never in my life seen anything passive about the passive income. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right? So our online business is, like I said, it's continuing education for private investigators, and we're just opening up a real estate appraisal branch, a vertical for real estate appraisers. In that business, it's a niche business. It's a very specific business that caters to a really small crowd of people. And therefore, we're able to charge a little bit higher rates than some folks that do online education can charge. And we also provide some very specific, like if you take a course on our website, you have completed the education requirements for your license renewal at the state level. So there's some things that we do that set us a little bit apart. But the online business is, even though there's nothing passive about the passive income, it is good. You can check out for a couple of months and it's going to keep on going and doing its thing. And then you come back to it and you add some new content. You do, you spruce it up, whatever you want to do. That's the thing I like about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, well, and there's other ways to scale it up so that it does perpetuate. So it does get easier over time. When people first start out with something like this, I think they make the mistake of thinking, oh, I'm going to start this online business and I'm going to be fine in 2 months. And it's like, kind of like any startup business, you've got to really put in the time and effort. And I would say that it takes 2 years to be completely done. You know what I mean? Like not done, but where you're working in this cycle that continues to be successful and just grows as you go. And then it becomes something that you can, take to the bank with you and be happy that you've accomplished this. It takes time and people just don't realize it. And the ones who, anyone can do it. It's just the ones who persevere through all of the ups and downs are the ones who are successful. It's not as much about, who has the best idea. I mean, I've seen people sell ice to Eskimos online. So, I mean, it's, it's pretty crazy. Don't you guys think so, Isabel? Because I know you've had one heck of a summer. And I don't know what you've done before that, but I know because we didn't meet till this year. But I want to hear more about what you're doing and your history and some things like that.
Yeah, so like you said, to be online, it took me 7 years to get here. And I just did a webinar recently about how to make a living as a blogger. Uh-huh. And one of the first or second slides I put in here is like, it takes time to build an empire. You can't build an empire overnight. All those overnight successes are actually like every single day little baby steps. building together. And especially with building a brand, people, that's getting into people's minds, that's getting into brand awareness. And if people don't know you, like you, trust you, and you're not showing up. So I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs that I worked with had a lot of visibility issues. Like, they're like, oh, I don't know if people will like me. I don't know if people will, this. I'm like, if you have visibility blocks online, you're not going to go anywhere. You have to show up wherever you have an opportunity to get interviewed, to do guest blogs, to do, you're going to have to show up consistently. When I tell people that I speak to over 100 people every day, whether it's Facebook Messenger or text message or email, people are like, what do you do all day? I'm like, I'm talking to people and reaching out and networking consistently every day. Yeah. Not the weekends. I take the weekends off. But I started out my website as like an online women's magazine for self-directed learners. Because I decided I wanted to skip college because student loans and that kind of thing. I was like, I knew I want to travel and help people. And I didn't want loans because I wanted to buy plane tickets. And so I started my online website, and I got into like learning about autoresponders and social media management. And I was getting emails from people asking if I could help them with, their autoresponder or some copywriting or content creation. I'm like, I don't have a website for this. So I went on Squarespace, made a virtual assisting website because people kept asking. I'm like, I should create packages for this,
Right.
And then within that 1 month, I made my first 2,500, and I was like, oh, all right. So that's how you make money online, with like a retainer and that kind of thing. And I learned so much from that. I was kind of virtually assisting people without knowing it, but I wasn't charging for it, So then I made it into a business and had it run consistently, I think, for 6 months. But every time I was helping people, I was giving them more strategy and coaching while being a virtual assistant. They're like, you're not just doing virtual assisting, you're doing other stuff too. And I'm like, I guess so. And then I kept getting annoyed with like the little detail stuff because it's not my forte. Other people love that research. And I used to geek out on Google Analytics. I'm like, I'm going to pass it on to somebody else that loves the numbers and growth hacking and all that. So I passed it on, and then I just switched to helping people set up their online business. So since I did the virtual assisting thing, gave them a template to be like, what are the things you're really good at? What are the things that, let's create 3 packages for this, do a beta test, walk them through that process so that they can be location independent, or just start bringing in some kind of income, even if they are working part-time at a job or something, just to prove to themselves that they could do it. And that was my next business model. And that was thebellav.com, like discovering what your passion is, discovering what your strengths are, and monetizing those. And from there, after coaching, I discovered all these visibility blocks people had. So I would give them strategy, but they wouldn't do what I say.
Right.
And I'm like, I want them to get results. I don't want them to just pay me, for me to just talk, but I want them to get paid and grow. And so I started shifting my coaching into more like that deep inner work about why they have blocks around certain things. And I did Reiki for the longest time, but I kept denying that part of myself. Like, this is too woo-woo. Nah, it's not. How can I monetize this? Even though I'm the coach of monetization, And now I shifted into what feels so in alignment and so great because I've built all this other stuff and I can replicate that system into this, was just discovering people's brand essence and creating an essence from that. And then just referring people to experts that can do the graphic design, that could do the filmmaking, that could do, the copywriting. Because I've built up a network of all these great people. And I was like, wait a second. I don't have to wear all the hats again. That's my old pattern. Let me release that and then just refer people that's their strength and their passion and get like a little referral fee here and there. But then they shine, I shine. And that's kind of my vision of my next step. It's like this virtual digital nomad PR agency because I've connected with people all over. I'm like, here, you shine,
Yeah. Well, and That works really well. But I'm echoing on somebody's screen.
Uh-oh.
Who's got, does anybody have a second window open or anything?
You are echoing, though.
I know. I don't know why.
You're not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. That must have been a blab thing. Sometimes it happens. What I was going to say is that I found that my business really ramped up when I started talking to other people about their businesses and letting them shine. And a lot of that, to be honest with you, had to do with this talk show. We went to Iceland this summer, which is where you and I almost
met.
Almost. We were just 45 minutes apart for a couple of hours. But, when we were there, Periscope had become big. It started around March of this year, and this was in July when we went to Iceland. And I was just starting to get on the Periscope bandwagon and trying to figure out my message and how I was going to work it. And so I go on vacation and I come back and I actually start thinking about, well, what am I going to do to ramp up my Periscope visibility? And within a day of getting home, all these people were talking about Blab. And I was like, I was like, I'm so tired. I can't just keep jumping from one thing to the next. And but I did, and within 2 days, I had a talk show with guests and a lineup for the next month. And it was like, whoa, this is insane. And it became something that I absolutely loved to do. And as soon as that happened, I met copywriters and graphic designers and web designers and analytics people and all these other types of online entrepreneurs who can do things that if I want to, I can do it. I know I could go do it. But for me to wear that hat is just going to burn me out. You know, it wears you down too much to try to do everything. So I started referring people, and inside my Facebook group that I run, it's called the 50 Shades of Orange Club, which is, you know, the whole orange glasses thing on my profile. And what happens is people come in there, and I don't allow a lot of spammy promotional things in the news feed. But if somebody wants to sign up for, you know, my list and so on and so forth, and we connect and talk and get information going, I will promote their things for them to everyone else. You know, like definitely be like, hey, check out Angela. She's got this great webinar on how to do investing. And, you know, here's Isabel. She's really great with, you know, getting people to dig into their, you know, essence, their brand essence, et cetera. That's something that I'm willing to do for people. And, you know, Hal with his Pursuit magazine, which is very interesting. It was, you know, it's going to be, I'm not sure how many people you've got. Oh, look, I got another request to join my club. Sorry. All these messages are popping up in here that I've never seen before from Facebook. Have you seen that? It's really weird. Oh, here's somebody else named Jason and Credo. Who's Credo? Hey, Credo. But anyway, I wanted to just speak to that I've also been now taking people's opt-ins, their free opt-ins, and asking if I could put them inside my courses. Because I teach online video tutorial courses with infographics and checklists and things like that. And obviously, I can't teach you everything about list building because there's so many aspects to it about email marketing and so on and so forth. But I can do what I do best and then ask somebody else to insert their starter material into, you know, my courses. And then I'm introducing, you know, them to my clients that I already have. It makes my courses more robust, and not everybody has to look at me all day, you know, in the videos or hear my perspective all the time. So that's really good. Now, Angela, I want to know, you just made a move because you've got deer behind you.
Yeah, there are deer behind me. And right now I'm in upstate New York. Not even, it's just Westchester. It's like slightly off of the island of Manhattan, 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay. So that's
what's really nice about it is that people don't realize that New York is humongous. It is not just the island of Manhattan.
Uh-huh.
It's literally 8 hours away and you're still in New York, close to Canada. But yeah, so right now I'm in Westchester and I like it up here just because it's just so much more peaceful and calm. I feel as if I can really zone out to nature and just exist and be. We're right off of a reservation, so there's acres and acres to my left. And
Nice.
I just like stepping out of the hustle and bustle. Sometimes we're on social media, sometimes we're on Facebook nonstop. We're like just trying to get clients nonstop. And I think we kind of just miss the big picture of what's here now. And so I find that when I'm in a striking environment like this, it's hard to avoid what's here now because it's so much bigger than me.
True, and that's the one of the downsides. But you can't really look at it as a downside. It's just one of the challenges of working online all the time is that you are just so digital with everything, and the need for these grows. And I think I have about 10 pairs of reading glasses now, and a hair in my mouth. It's driving me crazy. But the whole situation of being online, it pulls you out of what's happening around you, and the laundry piles up. I mean, it's like, and that could be just, figurative laundry. A lot of stuff just kind of piles up around you if you don't pay attention to what's going on. So I cannot wait to get back to Italy and work again, which is something I used to do regularly, and I haven't been able to go and do that for a while.
Yeah, I know that changing your environment definitely helps in refocusing and pivoting again your focus when you are working. I know for me, traveling, being in a different city every week, I'd have to have the discipline to just say, okay, I have Wi-Fi today for 2 hours, so I'm going to get as much as I can done, and all this other stuff I won't. And then also not to forget to go outside and enjoy, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Exactly.
So I know that definitely helps with the focus.
Well, I force myself to get a massage about every 3 to 4 weeks. And I mean, to be honest with you, it is something I have to schedule, because if I don't, I won't do it. And I'll be all jacked up in the shoulders and what have you. I'm going to go work out after this. I'm going to make myself go because I really, really need to. And then tonight we are ice skating. Hey, Hal, did you know that there's a new ice skating rink outdoors downtown?
I didn't know that, and quite honestly, I'm not going to go to an ice skating rink. That's a recipe for me to break an ankle.
Well, the 5 of us. So you want to? I might Periscope it. That would be entertaining, right? Yeah. Okay. So does anybody have any trips coming up? I know, Isabel, you talked about going to Paris probably next year. What about you, Hal or Angela? You got anything coming up?
Kim is going to Cambodia for a month, starting sometime in the middle of January. And then I think I will probably head to France mid-April, and she will probably join me after a month or so there for another 6 weeks or so. That's pie in the sky plan.
What is she going to do in Cambodia this time?
She's working on a writing project. She's working on a memoir for a lady over there who does social entrepreneurial work. Basically, the lady she's writing the story for and about takes young women from Phnom Penh who are in the life of prostitution. She gets them out of the brothels, takes them up to a little village on the Lao border, and teaches them a trade, teaches them how to speak English, gives them an education, and gives them a chance to.
Purses?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a jewelry bag in my room. It's my favorite jewelry bag.
Yeah, she's an amazing lady. So Kim's going to go spend a month with her in Cambodia, and it's going to be amazing.
That is so cool. I love that.
I want to, if I could, go back real quick to something that Isabel was saying about the coaching business. And she said at one point, she said, people listen to me and then they don't do what I tell them to do.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the interesting things about doing. People ask me all the time, why do you share the secrets of what you do? I do seminars around the country for private investigators, and I'm very forthright. I'm like, here's what you got to do. You do this, you do this, you do this, and this works. It's amazing. Yes. And people are like, why do you share that stuff? And I'm like, because nobody's going to do it.
Right?
Yeah, it's like, I can tell you how to do the thing, and they're really interested. They want to hear it, and then they just don't do it.
Yep.
So,
I'm shocked at how many people have bought my courses and have not opened the first module. And I had several of them, and I'm not like going, hey, get out, go get out your pencil and paper. I'm not like that. I'm just like, hey, ask me questions. I'm here. Let's do a live call. I'll do a Q&A with you. And a couple of people will show up, but then there's a whole mass that doesn't show up. And some have even said to me, oh, yeah, I went through that. And yeah, I'm okay. And then I'll go in and look because I can see the analytics on every student's profile. I can see exactly how many seconds or minutes they were on there. And one person, it was like 9 seconds she spent on $400 worth of material. And then literally said to me, this is just not good for me. And I was like, okay. Well, you spent 9 seconds on it, so what am I supposed to do? I mean, I didn't say that to her, but I knew.
Well, that's when you're like, you want to give the value, and you know that you can give the value. It's just a matter of them implementing it, and that's when I guess that's where I had or was worried about was like I saw them and they weren't getting the results that they wanted, and I'm like, because you haven't done what I told you to do, just do what I told you to do. And I'm like, I don't want to get paid. Like I had one client, I remember, I told him to jump on Periscope, and there was so much resistance. Like, no, I need a whole film crew, and it has to be like professional and like this. And I'm like, no. So then he's just like, aren't you happy I'm just paying you? And I'm like, the money is great, but I don't want just your money. I want you to get the result because you have an amazing story to share, and just use this tool. So when he said he didn't want to use Periscope, I said, okay, let's do this instead. He still didn't do it. Let's do this instead. Still didn't want to do it. I'm like, do you want the story out or not? If not, I don't want you to waste your money, So that was where I kind of had to decide, like, okay, I need to start with a foundational thing where I go through their blocks around what their stories are and understand where they're coming from. And then when they don't do something, call them out on it, and then just cut it off from there and be like, nope, don't pay me anymore. Stop if you're not going to do the work. So that was kind of an integrity thing for me, because I was doing online courses and I kind of had the same thing. There would be like 2 or 3 students that would always show up and do the work, and there would be like crickets. And I'm like, you paid, but you're not doing it. So,
Well, and the other thing, it's one thing to care about their result, because you do care about their result, but then there's also the reflection of so-and-so paid so-and-so to do something, or, I paid Isabel to teach me how to do this, and I'm not getting any results. And it's like, well, please don't say that out there to anyone, because I need the testimony of your success, and unless you do the work, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I think people underestimate what hard work actually looks like. I think we all want, like, okay, we bought the course, now it's going to happen. Like, I did what I had to do. I bought the course. Everything she said is going to happen is going to happen. And I think we kind of forget that, no, you actually need to do the work. You need to put time in your calendar to sit your butt down and do it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Like I've bought tons of courses, and now I think one of the reasons why I'm successful is because I'm going back and doing what I paid for. Because it's like, it's almost like you're buying the same shirt over and over again. Like you buy something, you're like, oh, I kind of had that already in my closet. It's the same thing with these online courses. Like we all just buy them up thinking we'll need them in the future. But I think what really helps for people, and for me, like coming from both sides of a producer and a user, just saying, like, mindset wise, like, look at this as a testament to what's going on in your life holistically. Like, you signed up for this and you're not doing the work. Where else in your life are you showing up that way? Like, where else are you not doing work that you signed up for? And this is something little, but like, open it up and use it as a way to figure out what's going on. And then you may want to start with this little course and then start doing it in other places later. if you want, like just start with it as a muscle.
Well, and some of it also relates to software and various programs online. Like, people will go and they'll upgrade and pay for $10 a month for this. And then they'll take 6 months before they even open it, or they'll realize all of a sudden, oh, I never did do that. I guess I should shut that charge off. Mm-hmm. And there's this hesitation. It's almost like hanging on to the old girlfriend, it's like, that kind of a thing. The old boyfriend, the old girlfriend, people who can't seem to let go of something. They're thinking, well, if I do this, then it won't be there for me. And it's like, well, you kind of got to learn how to set boundaries for yourself and move forward with what you're going to do in your life. And you don't have to accomplish everything you thought you wanted to. It's okay to stop and cut things off and move forward. Mm-hmm. I wanted to address that Devani over here said, not sure if you do questions, but I'm launching my first online course. So keeping this in mind, how do you combat those people? Well, I mean, I don't know if it's combating them or if it's just accepting the fact that they're there and that's the way it's going to be. And really, you can try to be as motivational as possible to them, but really it's not your responsibility to make them do anything. It's just like kids. You just can't make them do things.
I think what happens is, people get excited. I mean, Isabel said the word empire earlier, so I'm going to guess you've visited Chris Guillebeau's website.
Of course, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I think people get really excited about a thing like that. They check into Chris Guillebeau's, they check into one of your growth hacking webinars or something like that. They get very excited about it, and then they leave and they go back to their lives. And let's face it, most of the people that we know, the four of us will know, are going to be weirdos like ourselves, right?
Hey, look who's talking.
So, but how many of us are really good friends? I mean, I've got some really good friends that work in an office and they have an actual job, right? But I don't have that many friends that do that thing. Most of my friends are kind of like us. We're doing something weird all the time. But people get really excited about a thing and they buy into it, and they will, $10 a month doesn't sound like that big a deal. It's not a big deal, but you get enough $10 a month subscription services and pretty soon you got a house note, right?
Yeah, well, not a house.
I've been a sucker for those things myself. I mean, I'm like Angela said, I'm a user of online courses. I use them for motivation. I use them to figure out how to do things.
I have plenty for you.
Yeah, I'm also a producer, so I provide information. How many of you guys have? Does anyone do a podcast?
Not yet.
Okay, so my wife and I did a podcast. We started it last year. We got the first 10 episodes, and then we're working on the next 10 episodes right now. We went to this thing called it was a podcasting convention in Texas this summer. And there were a bunch of people like us there that were starting a podcast and trying to figure out how to make money off the podcast, how to get sponsorship. Yeah. And, going back to the idea of a niche, finding something that's really specific that will appeal to a very small group of people. When we started our podcast, we went to one of the people who'd been trying to advertise in Pursuit Magazine. And we said, hey, we're starting a podcast. It's not proven yet, but we've got a background. My wife does public radio. I think we can do a good job. And before we produced the first episode, we had a sponsor that was on board for, I think, $2,500 per episode.
Nice.
So, I mean,
nice.
And that's unheard of in the podcasting world. People are like chasing little bitty dollars. But if you niche it down into something very specific, and then you've got a person that wants to reach that market, they'll pay money to be in front of those people. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
What is your podcast? How do you get to it?
It's on iTunes. It's called Spy Curious.
SPYCURIOUS.
Yes. Because you want to. Everybody really wants to be a spy at the end of the day.
It's so true. We all do. I didn't get to answer your question about where I'm going next. So I wanted to do that before we ran out of time. at some point. But next on the clock is Texas for New Year's, Austin, and Fort Worth. There's a nice little thing going on in Fort Worth right now. So I like going to towns before they hit their big like explosion. I learned my lesson from Brooklyn here in New York. So I'm always trying to get to Brooklyn before it's Brooklyn for other cities. And then one of my friends just told me about Awesomeness Fest in Greece coming up in May. So that's probably definitely going to happen. Yeah. And then I usually go to Asia also sometime in the spring. So I may go to India before monsoon comes, right before, when it's super hot and no one wants to be there. But I'll go because I love it. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up. And then from June up, I don't know, I keep it pretty open. One of the things that we also spoke about was, how do we do it with, say, finances? And one of the things that I'm really, sorry, the sun is coming in. One of the things that I'm really excited about is when I go to different economies. So people think that I go to India, people think that I go to Vietnam, Thailand, because it's amazing and wonderful. Yes, it is amazing and wonderful. But I also go because my money gets stretched so much further. So one of the benefits of working from your laptop is, yes, you can be anywhere, but you can choose the currency you want to work in. So though I may be in Thailand or Vietnam or, in India, I'm not earning in rupees. I'm earning in US dollars. So when you do the conversion into it, in India, I mean, honestly, you can get a nanny for $200 a month, right? In Vietnam, I think my flat was about $375 a month, and they did my laundry. So
that would be awesome. I need to talk to you about that because I've been wanting to get a trip going to Asia
so for the family. It's super lucrative. If you go over there and spend a decent amount of time, you can either try to Airbnb out your place in the States or wherever you are and make money while you're living life and living your dream, which is something I don't think enough people talk about, like the economy shift and the currency.
It's not allowed here. But I wouldn't do it anyway. I'm an art collector, and I'm very afraid of rowdy guests who would ruin my art, and then that would just really ruin my life.
You don't have to Airbnb it, but you can also close up shop and just, for like $400, $500 a month, just go live in another country. You can just close up the shop. I'm pretty sure just you not eating in the States, you'll save money. Pretty sure from your groceries, your utilities. You can probably put a pause on your cell phone bill because you actually won't be using it. And just relocate those funds. So there's always a way if there's a way.
Mm-hmm. It's totally
totally what?
It's totally true. I did the same thing, and traveling on trains and house sitting and Airbnb was so much cheaper than regular rent every month that's why it's so doable. It's like there are no contracts. There's like, I want to switch where I am right now and just switch it and bring in money there, but it's still much more cost effective than paying rent somewhere every month and utilities and like the regular bills.
Yep. Well, I'm going to be going, let's see, where am I going? Florida first. That's like really exciting. Just kidding. And then what are we doing? January, I'm going to St. Martin for a week with a bunch of girls. It will be really fun. Yeah. And then in February, we'll be on a cruise that goes to Jamaica, which is the Train Music and Wine Festival. And my kids are in a band that's opening for Train. So it will be, we did it last year too. It is the most fun cruise I've only been on 2, but it's the most fun vacation I've ever done. It was so incredibly good because I slept a lot and I read books, and I actually was forced to not be on the computer for 4 or 5 days because I couldn't. And so that ended up being really, really nice. So we're doing it again. But other than that, I don't really have anything, major out of the country until October. But that's going to be a retreat, a business retreat. Isabel's pulled out for a second. And Isabel, you may be interested in this. It's going to be a PPC event in Italy, in Sicily. And I'm working on having this language school that I've been to help coordinate that. So it'll be really, really fun. I'm going to go a week ahead of time. Of course, I need a whole week to prepare for people to show up, right?
Of course you do. Mm-hmm. While you just sit there at a cafe reading a book with coffee.
Yes, even the school itself, just the grounds at the school are really, really nice. They have their own cafe, and you can just sit outside, and the weather's always perfect, so it'll be fabulous. All right, well, listen, guys, I know it looks like everybody's losing their internet for some reason, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And thank you so much for coming on today. I wish I would pop back in and say goodbye. Isn't it crazy? All right, thank you so much.
Really quickly, I'll throw a link.
Oh, there you go.
I'll throw a link to a freebie that I have coming up. It's just a no-brainer investing guide. So I just want people to start thinking about using the stock market to leverage their passive income and to spend it wisely. So here it is. And yeah, just feel free. It's an awesome no-brainer guide.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I shared mine there too.
Yep, and I'll type in house in case
Isabel, Angela, it's so good to meet both of you.
Is how.
Yeah, likewise.
Hopefully we cross paths again.
Yes, we will. Yes. We will cross paths.
Yes.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye, everybody. Next week's show is about lead pages and Facebook advertising. Bye.